We have the new moon at 9 degrees of Sagittarius happening on November 30th at 10:21 p.m. Pacific, which is 1:21 a.m. Eastern. Check your local time to see when this lunar event is occurring for you. Welcome to the second to last new moon of 2024. We have one more left in December, and that'll be in Capricorn, and that one's going to be a black moon, which essentially is the new moon version of a blue moon. Blue moons are typically full moons, black moons are typically new moons. But for right now, we've got this second to last new moon in Sag energy, and it's a pretty potent one. This one has some kick to it in terms of the transits that it has occurring. Also, we have a Mercury retrograde occurring, which also happens to be in Sagittarius and is connected to this new moon in a stellium. And on top of that, the chart ruler is involved in a bunch of hard alignments along with an aspect pattern. So we have a bunch of Jupiterian activity occurring during this lunation, which will make this feel more potent than typical. Also, Jupiter, the chart ruler, is about to make its opposition with the sun in its retrograde period, marking the halfway point for this chart ruler in its retrograde cycle, which will also have its effects on this new moon. Even though this lunar event is heavily aspected, the vibes on the graph are minimal. And as usual with lunar events, I always like to look at the next 48 hours to see what some of the energies are going to be in this new moon phase that we happen to be in. And with the vibes, we have romantic energy, we also have some emotional sensitivity, and a smidge of mental energy. So sure, there could be a revved up need for flirtation and romantic exchanges. At the same time, we might be in our heads with that mental energy and get easily triggered when it comes down to relational things. So even though we have some edgy energy within this Sagittarius new moon, this is still a sign about optimism and shooting your shot. So think about what kind of Sagittarius intentions you'd like to set. Think about what type of positive qualities about Sagittarius you'd like to adopt in your life over these next 6 months before we get to the full moon in this sign. New moons are about planting seeds and starting something fresh, and of course adopting the positive qualities of that sign associated with the lunar event. That way, within the Sagittarius energy, by the time we get to the full moon in Sagittarius on June 10th of 2025, you can keep going with what's working, tweak some of the Sagittarius themes in your life that need a little bit of a fixing, or let go of some Sagittarian themes that are no longer working for you in your life. One of the lovely themes about Sagittarius energy is knowing that there's light at the end of the tunnel. And so if you've been through a rough period, is this a time where you're wanting to bet on yourself more? Is this a time where you're wanting to have more of a fresh outlook on things, more of a positive perspective or a new lease on life? And you're ready to get out of a fixed perspective and adopt more of a growth mindset? Because maybe you're coming off a rough patch in life. Maybe you went through a lot of shit and now you're ready to take a more positive perspective because being in that situation or being in that kind of headspace isn't really doing anything for you. And so now you're ready to pivot and you're ready to open yourself up to better opportunities and ready to carve out a new path. You're looking to be pointed in the right direction and just ready to work on negative self-talk so you have more of a positive outlook. Of course, healthy positivity, because we don't do toxic positivity over here. And so within this energy, instead of thinking the worst, it's about looking at situations as maybe something good will actually come of this rather than the worst case scenario, because maybe it's time to see things from that viewpoint rather than staying in a limited mindset and one that's just keeping you stuck. And with energy like this, a lot of the times we're ready to release limiting beliefs that are no longer serving us. So this could be a time to rejuvenate our minds, especially with regards to restoring our faith back in ourselves. Sometimes this could be about restoring faith back in situations, and the situations can be relationships, it could be our work scenarios, it could be the way of the world, it could be tied to spirituality, religion, or other scenarios where we might have lost that. Sometimes energy like this can have us looking at expanding our consciousness after a period of being closed off in that sort of way. And so this could look like our philosophies, understanding deep truth, even wanting to work on elevating our states of consciousness. Or from a more down-to-earth perspective, maybe this is an urge to further your education. So maybe this is a time that you're ready to get the ball rolling on going back to either university or starting a higher education track, or just entering any other forms of learning institutions or taking courses online. Also, another way we can do this in terms of expanding our consciousness is through looking beyond our inner circle to gain more perspectives about life. In other words, maybe we're looking to connect with different types of people because we're needing that sort of stimulation, but also it helps open us up in terms of learning more things. Sagittarius energy is about learning from other people from different walks of life, and maybe that's something that you're wanting for yourself because you're ready to expand your social circle and also getting out of a bubble that you might have been in and you're just looking to expand your perspective through these new social channels. Another way this can show up is through showing us that we might have been limited in terms of our freedom. In other words, maybe we're overly burdened by responsibilities and it's just become very unhealthy and caused us to be off kilter. It's not to say that we should avoid our responsibilities. That is the lower end of Sagittarius energy. But on the more healthy side of things, it helps us pare down so we can have more fun and freedom in our lives. Maybe that sense of freedom will come from being your own boss. Maybe they'll come from travel. Maybe it comes from realizing that you're not the type of person that wants to live a traditional life and you're needing something that allows you to live your own truth. Or coming back to limiting yourself, this might be a time where you're realizing you need to take more risk in your life. Healthy risk, of course. Maybe you're realizing you need to put yourself out there more, and that could be for any goal that you can imagine. And maybe that sense of freedom could be about lightening up a little bit and taking on a more easygoing approach to life, becoming more humorous and free, and being able to let your hair down rather than feeling so serious, rigid, and focused on the wrong things. And by the wrong things, the harder things in life all the time. But overall, with this energy, it is excellent for improving our lives. So if we're wanting to make progress and we're wanting to go after every opportunity imaginable, using the sign of the Archer can really help us improve our confidence. So we're shooting our shot at all the things that we want in life. Let's look at these transits and see what we can expect from this lunar event. Don't forget to like and subscribe because it helps this channel grow. Also, if you're looking for a natal chart reading or intuitive coaching, the links will be in the description box below. And if you'd like to support the work of this channel, you could do so by buying me a fresh cup of coffee. The link will be in the description box below as well. So mostly for this lunar event, we have a lot of complex transits. We have the chart ruler, Jupiter. Jupiter is a governing planet for Sagittarius, and it's making a bunch of alignments that can feel pretty tense. Since August, Jupiter has been in an ongoing square with Saturn and will continue to keep making this square until 2025. As a matter of fact, somewhere around June 2025 will be the final square, and right now we're coming back to that point. And so energies like this can have us feeling like we're vacillating in so many different directions. On top of that, now that we're in this lunar event, it's creating a T-square. So this moon's going to be opposing Jupiter along with the sun, and we have Saturn that's going to be in that apex point of that T-square. And we'll also include that Mercury too, that Mercury retrograde that's thrown into this mix as well. And so energy like this can cause us to feel like we're not grounded. It can cause our emotions to vacillate from one extreme to another. We may have instances where we're blowing things out of proportion and either thinking too negatively or feeling like we're on the receiving end of someone else's negativity. In other ways, we might feel like we're needing to get real about some of our circumstances that maybe we weren't taking a realistic approach about. And in other instances, we might have to work really hard to get ourselves on the right path if we've been off course for a while. Also, with energy like this, the chart ruler is connected to Pluto in a hard aspect, and the luminaries are also connected to Venus as well in a hard aspect. So this could lend itself to a time to work on our coping strategies, especially when it comes down to triggers in relationships, finances, and any other things that we need to transform that's no longer helping us. One of the things that's happening here that's harmonious, though, is the luminaries are going to connect with Mars and the nodes in a very productive sort of way. And so this may help us if we've been feeling bogged down by some of these situations in terms of being able to take some action. Even though Mars is in its pre-shadow, this will still help us gain some sort of momentum when it comes down to getting things done and getting ourselves back on track, especially if we've been thrown off for the last month or so. And of course, some of this energy is going to circle back around again, and so we may have a revisiting of some of these during the Mars retrograde, since these alignments will come back around again. So yeah, for the most part, this lunar event has some harsher energies, but we do have some saving graces at least. So even if we're feeling bogged down, we might have some moments where we feel like we're getting a power up and we're able to push through some of these obstacles that we might be dealing with during this period. The signs that will feel this lunar event more than others will be the mutable modality: Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces, between 8 to 20 degrees of these signs. So if you have planets and chart points in any of these zodiac placements, you're going to feel this lunar event more than others. Anyway, I hope you all have the most constructive new moon in Sagittarius ever. Later, and see you in the next episode.